Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here again in the beautiful island of Cyprus. And it's my great pleasure to talk about olive oil. As you know, I have been working with olive oil for the last 15 years. And I feel that I and my wife, Eleni, we have dedicated our lives to the research on olive oil. So I'm very happy to be here today with this nice conference that combines not olive oil only, but also, as you heard earlier, the very important field of agroecology and how we should protect the environment in order to continue to have the wonderful products that nature can give us. And I feel that the highest, the most precious treasure that nature can offer us, I personally feel that it is olive oil. Well, olive oil is one of the most important commercial objects since the ancient times. Everything started in, if you probably recognize pictures like this, we're going back more than 3,000 or 4,000 years ago to see the first olive storage jars that were used for the olive oil commerce. So this very long story and this long journey took us about, I would say more than 3,000 years to move from the jars to the well-known containers, the metallic containers that everybody is still using, but were very commonly used in the 19th and 20th century. And it took us just a few years to move from these old-fashioned metallic containers to very luxury glass bottles, even containing gold flakes, and even less years to move from these luxury products to the pharmaceutical products. So we have a very, very long journey that the last years has been accelerated in a tremendous way. In Greece, the last 5 years, there is a long and vivid discussion among scientists with very different opinions expressed through the media about the character of olive oil. Is olive oil a food? Is it a drug? Or is it something else? Some scientists insist that olive oil should be considered only as a food, a basic ingredient of the Mediterranean diet that should stay away from any medical application. And here you can see the media. Of course, it's written in Greek, but I can say that some journals, some scientists speaking to journals, the media, they say olive oil is a drug for cancer, for cardiovascular disease, for Alzheimer's disease. Some others, they say, can olive oil act as a medicinal drug? Or olive oil is something like drug? Or no, olive oil is not a drug? Or olive oil, is it a drug? So you can see all different opinions expressed in the media. But what is the opinion of the market? This is a very recent search on Google. If you look about olive oil capsules, this search, I did it a few months ago, and I get all these results. I had done the same search on Google 5 years ago, and there was nothing. So that means that the market has already decided that olive oil has entered in the market of the medical applications. So where is the truth? Officially, olive oil is not yet recognized as a normal medicine, or even as a traditional herbal medicine with therapeutic use. There's no official recognition. But olive oil is recognized by the European Food Safety Agency and by the Food and Drug Administration in the United States as a food with qualified health claims, which are valid under specific conditions related to its chemical composition. So in this frame, olive oil can be used as an ingredient of food supplements distributed through the pharmacy stores. And this is what I showed earlier in my previous slides about the olive oil in capsules that are entering into the pharmacy stores. However, there are numerous experimental studies that demonstrate the therapeutic properties of specific type of olive oils or specific ingredients. And this is the future of olive oil. Just to mention the comparison between olive oil and fish oil. For example, in Greece, we find it difficult. We think that it's difficult that a certified olive oil can act as a dietary supplement or as a medicinal food. But it's very easy through extensive advertisement to accept the same, that the product is a medicinal product, for fish oil. Everybody believes that fish oil is a medical product, but we cannot feel the same for olive oil. However, they are both included exactly in the same catalog of the European Union health claims. Exactly in the same catalog where we have the health claims for fish oil, we have the health claims for olive oil. So whatever we believe for the health benefits of fish oil, exactly the same is for olive oil. I'm going to give you some information, some background information about when we say food supplement or dietary supplements, what exactly do we mean? When we say food supplements, we're talking about concentrated sources of nutrients or other substances with a nutritional or physiological effect that can be marketed in dose form. This is the basic characteristic of food supplements. You have a food that is marketed in dose form, like pills, tablets, capsules, liquids, in measured doses. So, the dietary supplements should not be used to treat any disease, but they can be used to reduce the risk of developing a disease. And this is the main characteristic of a food supplement or a dietary supplement. So the field for the olive oil to enter into the health market is open. And this is the reason why I am here, to help all the producers to increase the quality of their olive oil, not only as a food, but also as a product that can enter into the health market. And for this purpose, there are two options: either the food supplement market or the general food market, but with a specific health claim on the label of the food product. Now, talking about qualified health claims of olive oil, we have two discriminations. One is for the United States, where we have the FDA legislation. And there, in the United States, the official recognition, the officially recognized health claim is that olive oil may reduce the risk of coronary heart disease due to the monounsaturated fatty acids, but In that case, the olive oil should replace the calories that we are getting from animal fat. So if we replace animal fat with olive oil, we can reduce the risk for cardiovascular diseases. And this is officially approved in the United States. In Europe, we have not only one, but 3 officially recognized health claims. The first one is the same as in the United States, about replacing more the saturated animal fat with monounsaturated fatty acids from olive oil. The second one is about vitamin E, that contributes to protection of cells from oxidative stress. And there is a third one about the polyphenols of the olive oil that contribute to the protection of blood lipids from oxidative stress. So the first 2 health claims about the monounsaturated fatty acids and vitamin E are not specific for olive oil. You can find even other foods that contain these 2 ingredients. But the third one is the only one that is absolutely specific only for olive oil. And it is valid if an olive oil contains more than 5 milligrams of specific phenols in 20 grams of olive oil. So in that case, an olive oil can be characterized as a healthy product, meaning that it's a product that can protect our health. And you all understand what does it mean to increase the economic value of olive oil. Are there examples? Yes, there are many examples of olive oils that are already using the health claim on their label. Some years ago, although this legislation is since 2012, 2 or 3 years ago, there was maybe 1 or 2 olive oils that had a health claim on their label. Now, there are many. And in the coming years, there will be many, many more that will come. And I'm sure in the 2 or 3 next years, there will be a specific new category of olive oil, the olive oil with the certified health claim. And this is how a producer can write the health claim on the label of the bottle. So as you can all understand, olive oil is not a simple food or a simple source of lipids. The unique characteristic of olive oil is that it contains not only the monounsaturated fatty acids, but it contains unique chemical compounds with delicate structures that enter into the human body through the everyday diet, and they can have a very strong effect on our health. Olive oil is the only edible source of these specific chemicals that I will talk later. And for this reason, olive oil is the intermediate between food and drug, providing an excellent example of the Hippocratic medicine. This slide I have shown many times. It was the first thing that I read about olive oil. But this first thing was written 2,000 years ago by Dioscorides. It was so clearly mentioned in the ancient text that olive oil is a drug. It was so clearly mentioned. It is included in hundreds of ancient recipes. And it was fascinating that Dioscorides was talking about specific activities on the human body, and specifically from the olive oil coming from the unripe olives. It means that the ancient doctors had conceived the idea that all olive oils are not the same. There are specific olive oils that contain something different that can be beneficial for health. You can see the original Greek text saying «Έλεον προς την εν υγεία χρήση άριστον το ομοτριβές, ο και ομφάκινο καλούσι». It means that the best olive oil for health is that one coming from the unripe olives. And when we started investigating olive oil, we asked ourselves, why Dioscorides says this thing? Is there something different in the olive oil from the unripe olives? And when we started this investigation, we realized why he was saying this. And the answer was this compound. This compound is oleocanthal. Oleocanthal is responsible for the pageancy of fresh, unripe olive oil. It's the compound that activates a specific receptor in our throat. And from this feeling, we can understand that olive oil contains this specific compound. In 2005, it was found that this compound has anti-inflammatory activity similar to ibuprofen, which is a commercial general use drug for inflammation. What was surprising for us was this thing. It's technical, but I'm not going to talk about technical details, but we found that oleocanthal does not exist in the olive fruit. It is generated during the malaxation. Oleocanthal is born in the olive meal. So if you take care of this procedure, you can have a high oleocanthal olive oil. If you don't take care, you may lose everything. And additionally, what we found was that oleocanthal is absent or significantly reduced in olive oils from ripe olives. If you go to the orchard and collect the olives in January or February, the olive oil that you will get, it will not contain any oleocanthal. But if you go early, let's say September, October, or early November, then you will get high oleocanthal content in your olive oil. What we know about this compound, we know that it is an inhibitor of the enzymes responsible for inflammation. We know that it can protect from Alzheimer's disease. In vivo, we know that very well, and I will talk later about this. We know that it's protective against arthritis. It's due to anti-inflammatory activities. And we know that it can act against tumor promotion. I will talk in more details about all this later. So chronic exposure to low doses of anti-inflammatory agents like oleocanthal through everyday diet offers protection against cardiovascular diseases and all the problems related to aging. So it's a powerful weapon to protect our health. But it's not oleocanthal. There's another very similar compound in the olive oil from unripe olives, which is named oleacin. Oleacin has a similar structure, and it's also an inhibitor of enzymes related to inflammation. And it also has some other very interesting beneficial activities. And also we have two other compounds, oleurobiene aglycon and lixitroside aglycon, and they all have shown to have similar beneficial activities. But olive oil also contains some ingredients that were not known until recently. We have discovered new compounds that we have named them as oleocoronal and oleomissional. We still don't know what are their biological activities. We have just started the investigation of their activity. So all these compounds are described in the European Union health claim. The EU health claim talks about hydroxytyrosol and its derivatives. All those ingredients that I showed earlier belong to this family. And all those ingredients offer protection against blood lipid oxidation. This is what the EU health claim says. But when the legislation talks about blood lipid oxidation, what does it mean? In fact, it means that it protects from the oxidation of the bad cholesterol. LDL, the bad cholesterol, is the main reason for the cardiovascular diseases. This is one of the most important slides because we all know that the high LDL cholesterol is related with coronary artery disease. We all know that we should not have high levels of cholesterol, and especially we should not have high levels of bad cholesterol, the LDL. But the reality is that the main risk factor is not LDL by itself. It's the oxidized form of the LDL. As you can see in the upper right figure, the correlation of the oxidized LDL levels with the risk of coronary heart disease is much stronger than the correlation with the total cholesterol. When LDL is oxidized, it's getting into the blood vessel, and then the bad cholesterol creates all the problems that we call as the atherosclerotic plaque. This is the place where we have the damage into the vessels. So if we can reduce the production of oxidized LDL through diet, then we're protecting our blood vessels and our heart. And this is the way how olive oil phenols work in the protection of our health. In our laboratory in the University of Athens, we have developed a method how to measure all those beneficial ingredients in just a few seconds. And based on this very prototype method, we have analyzed thousands of samples. Only this year, we analyzed more than 2,000 samples. And with this powerful tool, we're offering certification to every interested producer around the world. And this is a typical example of the image that we take from the olive oil, and we can recognize all the beneficial ingredients in the olive oil, and we can measure the quantity of each one just in a few seconds, as we can do this, and we can discriminate the different olive oil types. You can see how different they are. They're two different olive oils from two different varieties. This technique that we have developed, which is called nuclear magnetic resonance, NMR, it's a technique that helps us to override some very critical and difficult chemical problems related to the analysis of these ingredients. There is an older method that it's called HPLC, which is the method that the International Olive Council is using since 2009. Unfortunately, this method is not specific for these health beneficial ingredients of olive oil. So when we're measuring the total phenols by HPLC, we are underestimating the healthy ingredients by a factor up to 50%. And it's a pity for olive oil to be analyzed by a method that underestimates the healthy ingredients. And we are trying for many years to expand the use of the method that describes exactly what is in the olive oil. And we're happy that we have thousands and thousands of producers from all around the world that are using this method to precisely characterize the exact ingredients that are found in the olive oil. Maybe if some of you, they know some technical details about this, I will say just one sentence, that the HPLC method gives the result of the total phenolic content as tyrosol equivalence. The NMR method gives the result as it is exactly, each compound one by one, not as equivalence. And only this factor is responsible for more than 50% of underestimation of the total phenolic ingredient. Talking a little bit more about the chemistry of olive oil, I would just to mention one thing that we know very little. We are still discovering new compounds. What we did, we took an olive oil sample, we put it in the dark place for 2 years, and we were analyzing this sample every few months. What we discovered that there was one new compound that was born during the storage of olive oil. But nobody knew what is this compound and what are its biological activities. So we discovered a new compound. This new compound has been named oleocanthalic acid. And what we found that this compound has the same effect as oleocanthal in Alzheimer's disease. It was a big surprise for everybody. Even if you store an olive oil for 2 years in a dark place, maybe oleocanthal is reduced, but something new is born there, and this new thing has similar activities. So just to mention that we know very little about olive oil, and there are many, many new things to come. At this point now, I will summarize a few important clinical data from the use of olive oil beyond the already recognized health claim. First of all, we know from clinical trials that have been performed that a high phenolic olive oil can decrease the LDL level. Not only reduce the oxidation of LDL, but also can decrease the LDL and increase the good cholesterol, which is the HDL. And this is a very important thing because we all care about cholesterol. What we discovered is something that it's an experiment that we performed recently in animals. And what we did, we chose similar olive oils with similar total phenolic content, but with different proportions in the different phenolic ingredients. And what we found that specifically the oils that contain high levels of oleocanthal, as it is in the case of oils 3 and 5, were much better correlated with the reduction of the LDL cholesterol. And we proved that in animals. We still have to prove it in humans, but it seems that, again, high oleocanthal content is much more important than the total phenol content. Another very interesting thing that comes from clinical trials is that consumption of high phenolic olive oil leads to reduced inflammation. How we measure inflammation in the human body, there is a specific marker which is called CRP. CRP is it's an index that is used for the prognosis of the atherosclerotic disease and the potential of heart failure in the future. So if you have high CRP, it's dangerous for your health. What happened to the people that consumed high phenolic olive oil? The CRP value dropped. So it's a fact that comes from real clinical trials. What also we know about blood pressure. We know that consumption of olive oil leads to reduction of blood pressure. And we know that from 3 clinical trials in Spain, Italy, and the United States. And also we know from 3 other clinical studies that the high phenolic olive oils can lead to even stronger reduction of hypertension. Again, a very important finding, because we don't have only 1 or 2, we have many, many clinical trials that are demonstrating the beneficial effect of olive oil phenolics on blood pressure. One question that appeared to us was, are really the phenolic ingredients related with the blood pressure effect? What we recently discovered is that there is another ingredient in the fresh olive oil which is not a phenol. It's another compound which is named elenolide. This compound had never been before described to be an ingredient of olive oil. It's our team at the University of Athens that discovered this new ingredient of olive oil. But what it is amazing that in the 60s, there was a big pharmaceutical company in the United States that had got a patent for this compound as a drug against hypertension, against high blood pressure, without knowing that this compound is found in the fresh olive oils coming from unripe olives. So it's not only the phenols, there are many, many other ingredients that we still need to find. That's why we're saying for many years that we need to do a lot of deep research on olive oil, because there are many, many things that we still have to find. One more thing. I talked about LDL cholesterol, I talked about inflammation, I'll talk about CRP, about blood pressure. One more clinical trial. One more clinical trial about the platelet reactivity in healthy adults. We know that the platelets are responsible for the coagulation of blood. And this is a physiological procedure, but when you have coagulation of blood in a vessel with an athermatic plaque, then in that case we can have an infarction or a stroke. So how can we prevent the procedure of the thrombosis? How can we prevent it? There is a specific mechanism of enzymes implicated in this procedure, and we wanted to find if the ingredients of olive oil can block this procedure. So what we did, we gave different olive oils to healthy adults and investigated the activation of platelets. We gave 3 different oils. They all had the same total phenol content, but one of them had high oleocanthal concentration, and another one had a lower concentration, and the third one had not at all. Although they had the total phenols were the same. What we found that the high oleocanthal oil had the stronger effect on the platelet aggregation. And it was amazing that in half of the volunteers that consumed the olive oil, the effect was exactly the same as if they were taking ibuprofen. And it's much more fascinating that the olive oil that was used, it was a Greek olive oil from Kalamata, it contains only 12 milligrams of oleocanthal, and it had the same effect as a pill of ibuprofen containing 400 milligrams. So it means that we have a very powerful compound in our hands. And this is the figure showing this. So we were the first that were able to demonstrate in humans the activity of oleocanthal in humans for the protection from platelet aggregation. But you want more? I'll give you some more. What about olive oil and Alzheimer? It was a few years ago that it was shown that oleocanthal can stop the progression of Alzheimer's disease. What was the experiment that was performed in animals that were overproducing the alpha amyloid? It's a protein that is responsible for the Alzheimer's disease. What it was found that was when oleocanthal was administered to the animals, then this bad protein was removed out of the brains of the animals. And it can be seen here. We have some nice pictures showing the reduction of the plaques formation on the brain of the animals. And this also here. But the most interesting finding came just 3 months ago, when olive oil rich in oleocanthal, through the diet of the animals, achieved to block completely the progression of Alzheimer's disease. We're not talking about pure compound administered intravenously. We're talking about olive oil containing high oleocanthal getting into the body of the animals through diet. They were eating food with olive oil with high oleocanthal content, and in just a few months, just in 4 months, it was the progress of Alzheimer's disease was completely blocked. I think it's one of the most fascinating findings of this year. But it's not only oleocanthal. There are other experiments showing that other similar ingredients of olive oil can also have similar effects. So we have a total amount of healthy ingredients that can protect our brain. And also we have other results. It's a model mimicking multiple sclerosis. In that case, the olive oil phenolics could also stop the progress of the disease, because again, we have an inflammation. If we can stop the inflammation in brain, as it can be shown here, we have this very interesting, very interesting effect. And all these studies have been performed either with olive oil rich in oleocanthal coming from Greece, or from compounds, pure compounds isolated from Greek olive oil that has been administered to the animals. Want some more? Yes. About oleocanthal and cancer. It was published 3 years ago that oleocanthal can block the proliferation of the cancer cells and can kill the cancer cells in just 30 minutes without affecting the normal cells. We thought that can it be true? Is it real? And what we did, we performed the same test in our laboratory in Athens, because the first study was performed in the United States. So we isolated pure oleocanthal and pure oleacin, and we tested in human cell lines. And what we found indeed that in very low concentration, these two ingredients could block the proliferation and kill the cancer cells without affecting the normal cells. And the most interesting appeared in literature just a few months ago. Look at this. Olive oil phenolic oleocanthal modulates estrogen receptor expression, and it could block the progress of breast cancer 95%. Not only in vitro, but it is also active in vivo, in animals. What we're doing now, we're testing these ingredients in humans. And in the event that we're going to do in a few days in the Old Parliament in Athens, we're going to announce the first results of the clinical trials in humans. Talking a little bit about oleocanthal, I would like to say that we have screened thousands and thousands of samples. At this moment, we have analyzed more than we're close to 6,000 olive oil samples that have been analyzed in our laboratory by the specific NMR method, which is very accurate for the measurement of oleocanthal. What we have found that the highest oleocanthal concentration is natural. We're talking about natural concentration in olive oil has been achieved in an olive oil sample from Cyprus. And it was achieved this harvest season in September 2017. We're talking about an extremely high concentration, about 3 grams of oleocanthal per kilogram of olive oil. In that case, I'm sure that we're talking not about the food. We're talking about a drug of the future. And I'm so proud that this specific olive oil is coming from this place. And it comes from a very, very old Greek variety. It's the variety of the Kalamata, the Kalamon variety. And this variety, grown here in Cyprus, gave this amazing result. And most possibly it gave these results because these trees have been grown with all the applied agroecological system. And I feel that this type of agriculture has a very important effect. We have seen also other types, I'd say, olive oils coming from this specific variety, also grown in Greece, and also in that case it gave high concentrations, but not as high as here. And another very interesting finding is that when the Kalamata variety was grown in Spain, it also gave the highest concentration of Oleocanthal in comparison to all other varieties. So it's a combination of the genetic background of this specific variety combined with the perfect type of agriculture and the perfect type of process. So we have a perfect combination of all, and it can lead to a new type of olive oil. Now I have some more time, okay? To say a few things about Aristoleo and the Aristometro. I presented also last year a few things about the Aristoleo test kit. It's a test kit that we have developed. I and my wife Eleni were the inventors of this test. It's a patent. It's protected by a patent belonging to the University of Athens and Aristoleo Ltd. And this test, with a very simple procedure, you just take a little bit of olive oil, you mix it with some specific reagents and wait some time, and then a color appears. And this color comes from light yellow to dark green, and you can understand by yourself, without being a chemist, if the oil contains high oleocanthal and oleacin. So you can separate this, let's say, batch of olive oil from the rest which do not contain, because every different batch from different varieties, from different olive oil preparation procedure, has different levels of oleocanthal and oleacin. So it's a simple tool that any producer can apply by himself to find the quality of the olive oil. And this, this color appears due to specific reaction happening with these two specific compounds. And when this specific reaction happens, then this green color appears, and we noticed that this green color can be measured accurately, not only by eye. The simple Aristoleo test is you have the tube with the color and you compare with a printed index. And then you can, by naked eye, you can understand if it's rich or not rich in oleocanthal. But what if we wanted to have an accurate measurement? So we found that this specific green color absorbs the light in a specific wavelength. So what we did next, we developed a specific instrument. It's a small photometer, which is called Aristometro, which offers the automatization of the colorimetric measurement. This instrument has been developed in the frame of the Interreg Med program Aristoi. This instrument is very selective only for oleocanthal and oleacin, not for any other of the phenolic ingredients of olive oil. And it has a very good precision if it's performed carefully, then it can lead to an accuracy about 10% in comparison with the NMR method. So it's an advance because this simple instrument can be installed in every olive mill, and all the producers, exactly in the same simple way that they are measuring the acidity of olive oil in the olive mill, they can measure the content of their olive oil in oleocanthal and oleacin. And also I would like to say a few things about the Aristoi project. The Aristoi project, possibly many of you are already participating in the Aristoi project that offers a free analysis of the phenolic content of olive oil We have about 3,000 participating producers from 5 countries. And it is the largest scale monitoring of olive oil quality that has ever been performed through a European funding project. I need to emphasize that the target of the Aristoi project is to increase the economic value of olive oil for the benefit of all the producers, not for the benefit of a small number of pharmaceutical companies. As you already have understood, there is a very big potential of these compounds for a pharmaceutical application. But our target is to help all the olive oil producers, not the big pharmaceutical companies. Our target is to educate and assist the producers and millers to make olive oil with increased health protecting properties and to offer certification to every producer in the Mediterranean that is interested for the health claim of olive oil. During the last year, we analyzed 2,000 samples. More than 1,000 was coming from Greece, 500 from Italy, and also we had samples from Croatia and about more than 100 samples from Cyprus. We have created a very, very large database, and also we will create a map showing which place in all around the Mediterranean produces which type of quality of olive oil. And we have also investigated several parameters that are responsible for the final product, like the malaxation time, the temperature, the harvest time, etc. What we found about Cyprus, we found that 60% of the olive oil samples that were analyzed achieved to have a health claim. 15% of them had a level of higher than 500 milligrams per kilogram. And the most important finding is that the Achas olive oil sample contained the highest oleocanthal content among all the 2,000 samples that we analyzed in Athens and the 1,000 samples that were analyzed in Cordoba in Spain. So in total of 3,000 samples analyzed from this harvest season, the highest oleocanthal content was from Cyprus. Just to have a comparison, from Italy, 55% achieved to have the health claim. The average of all the Italian samples were around 300 milligrams per kilogram. From Croatia, we had a very, very surprising result because almost all the samples achieved to have a high phenolic content and a health claim. And to mention something about also for Greece, we analyzed 1,266 samples, and among them the 71% achieved to have a health claim, showing that it's a very, very strong weapon for the marketing of high quality of olive oil. The highest phenolic content in the Greek samples was achieved to be 3,000 milligrams per kilogram, and again it was from the Kalamata variety. Talking now about varieties, what we found that there's a very, very big variation among the different varieties. The highest phenolic content was achieved from the region of Arcadia in Greece, where we had the Olympia variety. And you can see the average was higher than 1,000 milligrams per kilogram. We have even high concentration in local varieties from Zakynthos or from Corfu, from Chalkidiki, and also from Athinolia and Koroneki, but not high concentration for varieties like Manaki or Megharitiki. So there is a very big variation among the different varieties. It is something that we need to know. Again, the highest oleocanthal content was achieved in the Kalamata variety. A few words now about the impact of harvest season and malaxation time. You can see here we have the same trees in the same orchard. We chose 4 trees. And every 3 weeks we were harvesting the olives, and we were producing the olive oil in the laboratory. What we found that in November, the highest phenol content was 1,400 milligrams per kilogram, while in February, this concentration dropped down to less than 100 milligrams per kilogram. So the harvest season has a tremendous impact. But it's not only that. We have a very strong effect of the malaxation time. We made malaxation for 15 minutes up to 90 minutes. What happened to the sample from November? 15 minutes, the concentration of phenols was 1,400 milligrams, but after 1.5 hours, this content dropped to half. So this is a guideline for the future. If you want to have a high phenolic olive oil, you should reduce the malaxation time. But have in mind that if you reduce the malaxation time, you may lose oleocanthal, because the trend is opposite. The longer malaxation, you have a higher oleocanthal. So everyone must find a gold rule, how to achieve high phenol content but also high oleocanthal. It's not an easy task, it's quite complicated, but it is a fascinating future. I would also like to say that in Athens we have created the non-profit organization named World Olive Center for Health, that it's a deliverable of the European project, the EVOO, the indirect Aristoi project. And this certification center will guarantee the quality and will assist the increase of the value of the produced olive oil. We're also planning to prepare a training material through the European project that will be available to all the producers that are participating in the project. So all the participants in the project, about 3,000 producers in 5 countries, will get guidelines for the next harvest season. And in the next harvest season, we are going to reanalyze the olive oil samples and to see if we have achieved to increase the concentration. Everyone that is participating in the project and everyone that has participated in the analysis of the olive oil sample this year and achieved to have a health claim will be awarded in the event that we're organizing in Athens, the 17th of May, the Olympia Health and Nutrition Awards. About the Aristoi competition, of course, Mr. Gadanidis will talk later about this, but I would like to say that the new trend is to have awards related to health claim. And it's reasonable. The consumers want to know what is the quality of the olive oil they're consuming. They're not concerned only about the taste. Yes, taste is something important, but now they are also concerned about the health benefits of olive oil. And not only this, there is a connection of price with the phenolic content. It's reasonable that the phenolic content should be related with the price because, for example, if you have an olive oil with 250 milligrams per kilogram, you should consume 20 grams to get the beneficial compounds. But if you have an olive oil that contains 2,500 milligrams per kilogram, then you need only to consume 2 grams of this olive oil. So it's reasonable that the second oil should have a higher price. And I already see this coming real in the market. For the next years, I'm sure that will be much, much more expanded. But it's not only the health, of course, it's the taste. And I believe that these two factors are allies. We need olive oils with good taste and also health benefits. At least we need to have olive oils without deficits. If we have an olive oil which has a reasonable good taste and a health claim, then I think that we have a good olive oil. And this good olive oil should have an award. Almost last slide. We have some clinical studies in progress. Today we have 3 clinical trials with specially selected Greek oils that are in progress. Against cancer with multiple myeloma, against Alzheimer, and against platelet aggregation. The 2 first ones are performed in Greece. The 3rd one is performed in the United States. For the first time, the American state decided to fund a large-scale clinical trial, human clinical trial, with high oleocanthal olive oil for the protection from platelet aggregation. And this is something very new. It happened just 1 month ago. From all this, you understand that our target, our ultimate target, is to collect sufficient clinical data to transform the high phenolic or the high oleocanthal olive oils from healthy foods or food supplements to what we call herbal medicines. Don't forget that olive oil is a juice. The juice coming from a fruit. And having that in mind, we can understand that olive oil is a herbal medicine. And after this, we want to demonstrate the effectiveness and safety of the pure active ingredients like oleocanthal in humans. And the ultimate target is to provide real new drugs coming from olive oil. And for this direction, I wanted to show some very, very nice examples of people, of producers that have adopted this idea, and they have produced wonderful olive oils that are now sold in very high prices. And I show them as examples of novelty. This olive oil, 4 years ago, it was sold for €2 per liter. Today, based on the health claim and on the clinical and experimental trials that have been performed with this specific high oleocanthal olive oil, the price is $67 per half liter. And this is the trend. Another example is the olive oil in pharmaceutical forms, either in capsules or in liquid forms. And we don't have to think very far away. The future is already here. And the last one here is the first Greek olive oil that is recognized officially as a food supplement by the National Drug Authority in Greece. So, some years ago, we started with a nice idea. After all this effort, we're proud to say that we achieved to bring the olive oil from the kitchen to the pharmacy store. And we feel very proud for this. And I have to recognize the very, very important contribution of Ethan and Marilyn to this. Without you, maybe all this journey would be very different. And I and Eleni, we thank you so much for this. I wish to thank many people that have helped me and Eleni to all this effort. And I'm really very happy about this. Thank you very much.